with some items not having hitboxes. This created a weird vibe in which I was taken out of this immersive town, and placed back into my chair, no longer in the world of Hokko, but playing it. Disclaimer, this game is in early access. The state of the game that you see in this video could be entirely different to the game you play. Ever wanted to play a game where you get left stranded in a strange town filled with animal humanoid creatures that guilt trip you into rebuilding their town? Cleaning up their beaches and making it look pretty so they can gain revenue in tourism and new movers? And do I have the game for you? Hokko Life, the PC's ambitious answer to Animal Crossing. For £15.99 British pounds, you can get this game on Steam in its early access program. That's right, the dreaded early access. But how good is Hokko Life? Is it worth purchasing now? I've been following this game for a while and was eagerly excited when I saw an email on my phone saying a game on your wishlist was just released. I didn't hesitate to install and try it out, ignoring all the posts and comments already made about the game breaking bugs. Expected, of course, this is still an early access game, but I still wanted to try it for myself. Upon opening the game, you're greeted with a lovely title screen, plain and simple. The in-game settings are pretty basic. You can choose a preset graphics quality, mess with your keybinds and... Wait, no audio settings? Are you mad? Okay, it is early access, and the developers are looking at all the issues and fixes people want. So whilst I don't have the ability to turn down the music, it could well be in the game by the time you watch this video. Before boarding the train to your inevitable doom of being stuck in a town filled with anthropomorphic creatures that force you to do their bidding, you get to design your character. Whilst it was fairly simple, it's still nice to have the ability to make your avatar look how you want. There are varying hairstyles which truthfully I feel fit quite nicely, and I managed to create something I was decently happy with. After boarding the train, I fell asleep, probably dreaming about getting that Nintendo Switch to finally play Oh, I missed my stop. Great. Investigating around, you eventually come across a little inn, with two of the main characters you'll be interacting with. They kindly laugh at the fact I am now stuck here, and offer me a room to stay in. Apparently trains don't run by often, so it looks like I might be here a while. Waking up the next day, I head downstairs to find out a tree has fallen and the town can't access the area. I kindly offered my help to remove the tree and head outside to meet Moss, the store owner, who offered me an axe to cut the tree. This was a fun little way of introducing us to cutting down trees to get wood, a bit different to Minecraft's keep swinging until you figure it out method. After helping out Moss with his wood problem, I decided to take a stroll, see what ventured past the tree. I was pleasantly surprised to find two more villagers, May and Ren. They kindly ignored the fact that I walked straight into their homes to greet them and politely greeted me back. This was the first look at the area you're going to be building in, and although small, you can build bridges to get across and open up other areas and build more houses in this game. More on that later. I continued investigating and found that the beach was a complete dump. Heading back to the inn, I was promptly asked to clean up that mess on the beach. I went back to the dump, and as I was picking up the trash, I asked myself, what happened here? Why did everyone leave if everyone is so nice? Could they not manage a town's worth of people? Why am I even cleaning up their beach? Shouldn't I be getting a train out of here? I decided to keep those thoughts to myself anyway. I received praise for my work on the beach and was tasked with speaking with the local carpenter to craft some benches, giving the folks some nice places to sit whilst they relax and enjoy their town being cleaned up by me. Whilst talking to Sally, the carpenter, I discovered I have magic powers. Anyway, I took the newly crafted benches and put them in places I thought would be nice to sit in. The next task I was dealt with was to get a shovel, plant some flowers, wait for them to grow, and make some pretty plant pots for the town. But I won't go into too much detail here as it was basically me just sleeping for 3 days waiting for them to grow. Anyway, the next major task, and something I had a bit too much fun with, was the crafting side of the game. After speaking with the innkeeper, she told me how her chair was broken and she'd like to repair it as opposed to replace it. I took the chair to Sally, and instead of working her magic, she told me to fix it. Going to the crafting bench, I was a bit overwhelmed at first. The controls and layout of the screen confused me, and honestly made me not want to spend too much time in it. But after getting adjusted and learning it a bit more, I realised this is going to be a huge part of the game. This section of the game is going to produce a lot of content and creativity for people. I removed the chair leg and placed a new piece of furnished wood into the build area. After fiddling around, I adjusted the leg's size, length, and angle to match the rest of the furniture. Once I gave the chair back to the innkeeper, I went back to Sally to try and create a table and a bridge. I spent maybe half an hour moving, resizing, rotating, and trying to create a cool looking bridge, only to find out I don't actually have enough materials for it. Realizing my failure, I decided to create a basic wooden bridge so I can get across the river and venture further into this strange town, see if I can find anything interesting. Spoiler alert, not too much. This was the first 2 hours of the game for me, and I honestly felt very 50-50 about Hokko Life at this point. I really enjoyed the crafting aspect of the game. I feel it can open a lot of potential for the creativity of Hokko Life, separating it from other games. But I also felt it was missing just something. There were a few times I just felt like I had nothing to do. For example, waiting for the flowers to grow. I was just sat around waiting for a while before I figured out I could just go to the inn and sleep. And whilst I'm sure later in the game there will be plenty to discover, but having a quest that requires 2 to 3 days for something to progress in the first 30 minutes of gameplay left me feeling a little bit lost. This was before I could craft anything too, so I could chop some trees down and plant more, but aside from that it was just to sleep for 2 to 3 days and skip forward in time. I personally didn't experience many bugs, but I will go over some of the issues others have had, so you know what to expect going into this game if you decide to purchase it. One of the first issues was the game being unable to load in 1080p. For some they were looking at a blocky 144p image. For others, certain assets were not loading in, including the train station and river. I am unsure if this was fixed. There's only a couple reports I could find of this, but it's something to be aware of. Another issue that I actually did encounter was some items not having hitboxes. This created a weird vibe in which I was taken out of this immersive town, and placed back into my chair, no longer in the world of Hokko, but playing it. Although Animal Crossing has been around for a while, Hokko Life is my first life sim that involved this type of gameplay, so I didn't really know what to expect when playing for the first time. And honestly, it was a little frustrating at the start, as I was mainly just running back and forth between characters pressing A, barely reading the dialogue as it got so long after a while, and I didn't really get to experience what the game truly had to offer until I unlocked the crafting table. I discovered I couldn't really do much other than maybe make some tables in the crafting table anyway, as blueprints cost a lot. Now blueprints are what the game uses so it can identify what item you are trying to create. For example, you can create a chair and make it look like a chair, but without the blueprint for a chair, the game won't know where to seat the person, or animal I guess. Anyway, these blueprints cost a fair amount, leaving me unable to decorate my room for a while. So maybe I could go fishing, catch some bugs, or perhaps mine up some rocks and try to make a little cash. Well, you'll be looking at a hefty amount of in-game coins to purchase these items. You can in fact go around the town and collect objects to sell, but they sell for so little it's just not worth it, and it's going to take you hours before you can finally get a blueprint. This made it quite obvious the game was going to be more grindy at the beginning than it was for fun, which for most games is normally the opposite. Grind comes last for the people who want to put in the hours. On a small note, a visual issue I had with the game involved the movement animation. Whilst moving my analog stick to get full speed, the animation worked and looked funky but suited the game style. However, moving slowly presented a broken animation that did not really fit the movement speed. But it's not finished there. Moving the stick even more slowly allows you to move without moving at all. I'm sure something like this could be well adjusted, however, and is very low on the list of bugs that need fixing. But again, it's just the little things that bring you out of that immersion. Despite the very slow start to the game, once I got to the crafting section, I really did enjoy myself. My inner kid who spent countless hours crafting buildings and machines in Minecraft came out. I spent far too long crafting something as basic as a table and a bridge, but I used it as a learning experience, so when I do eventually unlock more materials and items to use, I can create something really cool and in-depth. Now, although I will praise this section as being the most fun for me, it doesn't come without its issues. If you decide you want to lean back in your chair and play the controller like I did, then you will discover it isn't very favourable. Tweaking and trying to select items in this mode was a huge pain and took me a lot of adjusting. Trying to hover my cursor over the tiny little resize adjuster with my analog stick was driving me insane at some points. The sensitivity just felt off. Adjusting my camera to see what I was actually doing was also a huge pain. The camera would rotate and zoom based on the whole build instead of the individual pieces I wanted. This created an issue if you were trying to tweak a tiny part in the corner, as the camera just wouldn't allow you to move and zoom towards it. The camera is definitely something that needs fixing. Hokko Life presents PC players with a really ambitious and exciting chance to have an Animal Crossing-esque game to play. I went into it with the mindset that it is indeed early access, and bugs will be a common thing. The issue I had, however, was I found myself quite bored. The introduction and tutorial was long-winded and disheartening. Some of the dialogue was unnecessary and just felt like it wouldn't end. And the fact I couldn't do anything other than sleep when waiting for the tutorial flowers to grow put me off majorly. I will praise the crafting side, and I cannot wait to see the community grow and show off their builds, but I do hope some tweaks happen, allowing it to be much easier. Overall, I think this game is going to be a gem, but I do think you should hold out on buying it. With the fact it is in early access, you're essentially a QA tester and are expected to find bugs in the build of the game. For a lot of people who want to casually play an Animal Crossing type game on PC, waiting a little longer for the game to perfect its inner workings is the way to go.